Hello everyone! Blue Star Saber here, once again to do another Star Wars Ahsoka review, in which episode 7, Dreams and Madness, in which it follows up from the last episode in which Ahsoka tells Huyang that Sabine went with the enemy, and him implying that perhaps it was the only choice that she could make, given the fact it was Ezra, in which we see that our villains have arrived at planet, I believe, Pedaria, and where it's revealed to be the homeworld of the Night Sisters, in which we learn, in which the mercenaries and Morgan Elsbeth, the Dark Jedi mercenaries, have met Thrawn, who is in alliance with Night Sisters, or known as the Great Mothers. And they've struck some deal to take some cargo aboard his Star Destroyer and head off to the next galaxy. But before that, Thrawn honors Bailon Skull's agreement, and he gives Sabine the resources needed to try and find Ezra's last coordinates, but has Bailon Skull and Shin Hayate, the two Jedi Dark mercenaries, to pursue once she's found them, to eliminate them, just to try and erase a threat if possible. Though it doesn't matter if they fail or succeed. And during this, and as Sabine travels and journeys, she eventually meets this little tribal race called the Naughty, who reveal to be associated with Ezra and finally reunited, and they have their reunion with Sabine keeping the secret the fact that she made a deal with Thrawn's allies to get here for him, while he's just excited to go back home, not revealing the details that if Thrawn leaves, they're stuck there. But at the same time, Thrawn is alerted that Ahsoka is coming by the Night Sisters and prepares for her arrival. Now, how this episode goes? Well, arguably, I think it's weaker than last week's episode, but as for why, I'll have to give I'm going to do a quick summary first. The episode begins on Coruscant at the New Republic, where we actually see Harrison Miller again after 5 episodes, where she is now standing trial in a Republic courtroom, where you see Chancellor Mon Mothma and Senator Hamato Zeno, I believe Kaz Kazuta's father, Chopper, and Captain Carson Teva, who are attending, as well as a bunch of other senators and personal militaries. One, which I think is Gail Akbar, or Admiral Akbar. Though, granted, I think he's probably gotten the highest military defense position, and that's probably why Hera's in charge of, I believe, Home 1. But they're pretty much, she's on trial for, for disobeying, her orders from, to do that mission to find Ezra and Thrawn, which the senator votes against, and saying as he intends to try and punish her for that, saying that New Republic Defense Force General can't go around acting like it's still a rebellion, since they're now a government and all that stuff. And she tries to respond that she's defending the people of New Republic from the upcoming threat of Thrawn, but he dismisses with disobeying orders. And despite the fact that you got a bunch of murmuring in the Senate, he dismisses. Though Mon Mothma tries to help Hera, but the senator dismisses her report as like a fairy tale, finds the idea that there were false Jedi star maps, and of course the Purple space whales, as he describes them, in a distant galaxy, and also a distant galaxy, finds as all a bit of a stretch to believe, which I think arguably there are some truth to what he says. To the average person in the galaxy, it seems a bit far-fetched. But of course, Hera tries to insist that Morgan Elizabeth is working with Imperial forces or remnants to try and coordinate the return of Thrawn. but he dismisses that there's any actual threat, as all the Imperials are scattered and divided. With Tavo trying to talk about the recent events on Mandalore, but the senator dismisses it as Moff Gideon being an warlord acting on his own cases, and think this is more proof, and does not believe that there is a conspiracy against the New Republic. But Syndulla tries to try and point out that the Thrawn's return is a real threat, and he's in denial about it, and but thinks that she's just trying to abuse her position, and says that they need to court-martial her for disobeying orders. And just then you have, as the senators are arguing what to do about this situation, C-3PO arrives. Let's see, from a message of Leia Organa, but is blocked by a bunch of New Republic troops until Mon Mothma allows him to come in. As he says that, as 3PO reveals that Organa has given him transcripts that might resolve the matter, and she allows it despite Xeno's objections. And let's see, the transcripts reveal that Senator Organa had personally sanctioned General Syndulla's mission, and were to the planet Cetos, and was unaware that it was voted against by Senator Sino and other senators in the Defense Committee, much to the protest of Xeno, saying that they can't admit the evidence from a mere droid, which you get Chopper being angry about that. Of course, Tevil calms him down, and 3PO ends up going about how the other senators to direct their concerns to Organa on this matter, given her role as defense counsel. And Mon Mothma checks the data and is satisfied with what is revealed, resulting in Xeno forced to drop the charges, even though he doesn't want to, after Mon Mothma asks if he's satisfied or not. And the court hearing is dismissed, and Syndulla is scot-free, which Syndulla thanks 3PO, and he says it's no problem, but complains about being a mere droid. And afterwards, you have a private conversation as everyone's leaving with Mon Mothma and Syndulla, knowing that Organa did not authorize the mission, but let's see, Syndulla says that she did eventually, revealing that she knows that Senator Organa did a loophole. But Mon Mothma gets serious and then asks if the return of Thrawn threat is real or not, which she tells the Chancellor that they have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, as you can see the look on Mon Mothma's face that she is completely worried about this situation. Now, like last episode, This is the only opening when you have with these characters, kind of like how last episode with Ahsoka. So I'm going to give my thoughts here. I think I've seen this bit as probably the most controversial episode. Most controversial part of the episode, or at least the most disliked part, because of most people not being a fan of the New Republic's incompetence and corruption here. But granted, I think there's not much that Dave Filoni can do with this because, well, given how the sequel trilogy played out, they kind of have to show that the New Republic's incompetence and denial about the threat of the Imperial remnants and later First Order eventually draws them into a false sense of security that by the time that they strike, it is too late. And it's going to be the same case with Thrawn when he returns, which does beg the question why they didn't think the First Order would be a threat if Thrawn returned, but I guess that's just something that they're going to have to try and sort out when they do after the Mandoverse and Dave Filoni's movie. They have to do all that material to build up to the sequel trilogy era. Whether or not that's going to be done in TV or books or shows or even other movies, we'll have to wait and see on that bit. But yeah. But I do like to see that we have, Admiral Akbar. Well, I don't know what his military rank is currently in the New Republic, But it's clearly a high. But I argue it's probably argued that he's probably a high military defense position since he's in this hearing, which makes sense since he was like the rebellion's best admiral. So it's always good to see him. But I do like how you've got but yeah, Sino clearly continued to be the bit of the corrupt, annoying senator for our heroes, which I'm all fine for, and I do think his arrogance makes quite a bit. And to be fair to him, I can see why he could dismiss Syndulla's report as a bit of a fairy tale, since you've got to remember, like, people like Han Solo didn't believe, an average person in the galaxy didn't believe, like, the Jedi, the Force, all that when he first met Luke and Obi-Wan. Even though the Jedi had been like only extinct for like less than 2 decades, like just 1 year off of 2 decades. So I think that makes sense. And to be fair, star maps and space whales and distant galaxies would seem a bit of a stretch for anyone in the galaxy. I think you have to be a very firm believer in like the Jedi, like the Rebels, like the Ghost Crew and people like Mon Mothma. Maybe you might be a bit skeptical. I mean, she hasn't really interacted with the Jedi as much as say like Senator Bail Organa did with Obi-Wan and Yoda. So you've got that. But I do like but it does have a point, like the New Republic general can't just go out and do what he or she wants. But even though Syndulla is correct in taking the threat of Thrawn real, and he is unfortunately just kind of in denial of it, despite there's some evidence towards. Now, granted, I know he's not like a new Empire sympathizer, given what we saw of Star Wars Resistance, but he's just very corrupt and incompetent at the very least. But yeah. Anyway, as for like the 3PO cameo, I think it works. Now, granted, I think they're trying to be very careful with the whole Carrie Fisher's absence, Princess Leia absence due to Carrie Fisher's unfortunate passing back in 2016. So I think just having 3PO just go in for the time being, I think makes sense. Granted, they'll probably have to eventually try and either do the CGI thing, which that might lead to some ethical debates, or they just recast Princess Leia as probably arguably Carrie Fisher's daughter, and perhaps do some effects to make her look more like Leia Organa, but I think they did in Rise of Skywalker, besides used footage. But at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if they have to try and bring back Leia Organa. Granted, it'll probably be a lot more easier in animation, because animation you can do what you like, which is probably why Tales of the Jedi had 3 shorts about Count Dooku, which I thought were pretty good. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, I do like how they had 3PO bringing like a transcript of Leia doing a technicality saying that she authorized the mission, even though she did it later. And I do like how Mothma realizes it, but probably would not abide by this normally. But given the fact that the threat of the return of Thrawn is a possibility, she's probably allowing it so she can ask Syndulla to give her a piece. And I do like how Syndulla says, hope for the best, but expect the worst kind of situation. But I do like how we sort of learn that, in this, like, Leia's position in the New Republic at the time, at least during this time period, was that she was leader of the Defense Council, which I suppose makes sense since she was I believe she eventually became a general in the New Republic, in the rebellion, but or at least a commander. But makes sense since she was one of the leaders of the rebellion that helped defeat the Empire. So yeah, I do know that eventually in like the Star Wars Bloodlines book, she eventually becomes a leader of her let's see, I think Senate Party or something. I think the populists, and he was trying to go for, I think, First Minister. From my understanding, it's kind of like a Prime Minister role in the Galactic Senate, in the New Republic Senate, or Speaker of the House if you were going by U.S. Senate rules, I think. But eventually had to resign due to being revealed as Darth Vader's daughter. So you had that kind of disgrace thing. But yeah, it's nice to see that little thing. But I do like how also you had Chopper complaining at let's see, Xeno's prejudice against droids, and even 3PO complaining after the whole matter was solved. But I do like how also Captain Teva trying to help Hera by talking about the events on Mandalorian Season 3, which we now have confirmation that Ahsoka takes place after Season 3. So, we have that. So, that's pretty much all I got really have to say in this part of the episode. So there's just like just the rest to cover. So just give me a little second as I recall what happened. And anyway, we cut to like a Ahsoka training with a hologram with Anakin giving him like instructions about which eventually talks about how to do this sort of training form that she's currently doing, about how she might eventually face adversaries like General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, and Count Dooku, and reminding her to practice these forms even more than that, to trust her instincts. As Hyang comes in, as Ahsoka revealed that Anakin had given her 20 recordings, and this was the last one, which Hyang comments about how thoughtful her master was, and she replies that he was a good master to her and all that, as she ends up telling him that the Purgles seem to be reaching their journey because his scans indicate that they're slowing down their speed, if you will, and with Ahsoka being confident that they'll be able to find Sabine Wren soon, but Yang points out that they might not even be given the right coordinates, but Ahsoka just teases Ahsoka ends up teasing him about that, thinks that they have the good odds, and and keeps teasing him about how he warned her about the unlikelihood that they arrived at the right galaxy, but yeah, it's kind of funny. But as they are exit hyperspace, they end up sent scanners, and then you start about something wrong, and then you hear explosions outside, and the wells are being attacked, and then when they escape the Purgle's mouth, they realize there are Imperial mines everywhere. As the Purgle travel to hyperspace to escape the mines, Ahsoka eventually goes to the rings of the graveyard of Purgles to try and escape the bombs, and to after probably passing through them, and they see the Eye of Sion, and they send down their starfighters, in which they go to the debris to avoid them, and you have one of the ships being destroyed as a result that's pursuing them. And anyway, on the Tower of Peridia, we cut to Thrawn walking into the round two, or the hologram meeting room, if you will, where they say Captain Enoch's hologram. Reporting about the Purgle arrival triggering the mines, and also a T6 class Jedi shuttle. And Thrawn says that this is clearly Ahsoka, with Elizabeth giving Thrawn the data pad about Ahsoka. And as from the Inquisitorial database that they have on Tano, and once he's read it, he gives a surprise of being a surprise that Tano was trained by none other than Anakin Skywalker, with him asking if there's only one star ship to his captain, which he says yes, and tells him the fighters have engaged the enemy, with him telling them to withdraw the starfighters and have them stand by for the time being. saying that's all that needs to happen with the Captain obeying the order. Elizabeth questions why not have the fighters follow, with Franz saying that there's no need to waste their resources. And she warns them that we would lose the debris if they don't have this pursuit. But Franz says that, well, that is correct, since the Jedi are pretty good at hiding, given Order 66 and what they practiced for all those years. But he tells her that he's starting to get to know their adversary, and if Ahsoka is as unpredictable as her master Anakin Skywalker was, then they'll have to try and be the one step ahead of her, no matter what direction she takes. Implying that he has an idea of what she might do with her unpredictability, but or at least they need to learn a bit more about her before they can make their move. But anyway, as the starfighters withdraw, let's see Tom and Yang land in one of the Purgo's ribbed cages. You kind of see some like parasitic aliens around, I think, if you pay attention, eating off or flying around like the bones. I think that's a little interesting. I like that little nod. And Yang questioning how the enemy knew of their arrival, with Ahsoka saying that Thrawn must be behind that attack. And Hyun comments that as a result, that must mean that Thrawn has been found and by their enemies, with like her agreeing. And he starts to try and run a scan to see if he can find Sabine Wren, which leads to our next scene. Just give me a sec. In which we then cut to like Sabine and Ezra as they're traveling on the pub-shaped homes of the Norte as they're moving across like the plain, with Ezra piloting the largest one as one of the Norte that he's associated with climbs down, and when comes to take her place, and you get like a child waving at them. And Ezra's talking about everything that Sabine has told her, such as the defeat of the Empire at the Battle of Endor, and like the Emperor, and apparently that the Emperor has died, with Sabine Wren talking about how that's what people said, which is clearly a reference to Rise of Skywalker, but heck, that's what happens. And so also learning about, the New Republic, and that Zeb is training recruits for it, and Syndulla's commanding a fleet as a general in the New Republic. Talking about how he's missed everything. Now, he doesn't seem to be informed yet about Jason Syndulla, or maybe he has, but he's not talking about it yet, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. With Sabine talking about how she didn't think she was able to, was starting to wonder if he would ever be able to find him. And this is where Bridger tries to ask a bit more about how did she find him, but she tries to dismiss it. Tries to dismiss it as being complicated. As Ezra tries to poke a little bit of like the usual complicated or worse, but she implies worse. That's all she's saying. But Ezra's like, okay, she doesn't want to talk about it just yet, so he tries to get to a different topic, and this is where Sabine reveals to Bridger that Ahsoka Tano decided to take her on as an apprentice, much to his surprise, and asking her why, but also congratulating her, since he does know that Sabine has trained before, where under Kanan Jarrus for like the lightsaber training for like the dark saber in like Rebel Season 3, so you Mandalorian fans have some probably episodes to watch for that one, but Sabine gets a little annoyed when Ezra sort of like tries to doubt the training a bit, but she's just laughing it off. But Ezra tries to ask, is Ahsoka coming? But she doesn't really answer, saying it's complicated once again. And Bridger asks if it's complicated, which she says yeah. But so clearly she does not answer. And at the same time you have Bailon Skull and Shin Hata and the gang of red armored bandits watching the see the group driving their houses on the hilltop and waiting for their howlers. Oops, wrong one. Anyway, we then cut to back to where Thrawn is with the three great mothers. Where Thrawn asks for their help in finding Tano in the Purgo graveyard, and they agree on clasping their hands and using those three floating orbs to the hologram maps, in which the red beam tries to find where they are, forming a triangle as they chant one of their Night Sisters incarnations. Back on the T6, you then have Hyang telling Ahsoka that he can't find Ren, and Ahsoka says that maybe we should try something else in the scan, and that there is another way. With Hyang realizing what Ahsoka's doing, asks us whether or not her bond with Sabine is strong enough, and we see Ahsoka tries it, and we see back to Sabine is chatting with Elsa, and talking about their relationship with the Naughty and all that, but as Ahsoka focuses on Sabine's attention is drawn away, and Sabine ends up hearing Ahsoka, which she gets a bit excited about, but and says Tano's name with and during this time, as Ahsoka you see Ahsoka finally can do that connection. The Great Mothers have found Tano. I should mention that they all talk free and sync, so that's kind of cool. And the golden orbs turn into a sort of T shape that shows the point where they are, with Thrawn telling his captain to they found the coordinates and then send the fires to attack. And Bridger asks Sabine what's happened, and she says she doesn't know, but says it's a familiar feeling, which you'd think Ezra would have an idea of what that is, but given the fact he was a Jedi Padawan. Let's see. As Ahsoka is still in her stare when they get shot down, and Hyang realizes that they found them and tells them to come, and she knows where they're going as they pilot the T-Shaherto out of the ring of the Purgo remains, and they're racing towards Peredia, with Thrawn congratulating his captain, and let's see him asking whether they should pair their defenses, but he says they don't need to because they know that they're not the Jedi's attention right now. They knows that she's going after Sabine Wren, and which they sent very far away from them, and then tells Enoch to contact the fighter group they had to re-engage. Let's see Ahsoka and her ship as Enoch just obeys the order, and then we cut to back to Peredia where Ezra's group has one of the Naughty notices two figures, and Ezra asks Sabine if those two figures are friends of her, but for the look of her face, she says no, they're not. And we cut to Bailon Skull telling her princess to contact Thrawn, and gives her the orders to kill Sabine Wren and Bridger, and then tells her that it's time for her to take her place in the coming empire, but she asks is he not helping, with her telling her that her ambition drives her in one direction while he has a different path to pursue, as she transmits the coordinates to Thrawn. And just as they're about to separate, Skull gives her a final lesson that impatience will lead to defeat, and as she accepts this lesson, the bandits start going in pursuit of the Naughty Cavern. She stars a master in a sort of, I think, described as momentarily, sort of like a deep fort, if you will, and she rides along the bandits, parting ways with her master. And then Enoch informs Thrawn about and Elizabeth about Ezra's location with Sabine. And then the Grand Admiral dispatches 2 gunships to assist the mercenaries. But unaware that Bailon's skull is not with the group, thinks that he will lead the attack, and thinks that if tells Elizabeth that he thinks that if he proves capable, they may win this battle. And we see that in the Chimera, 2 squads of night troopers are boarding the LAAT Lee patrol gunships that we see in Rebels quite a bit as they are heading towards the coordinates. And then we get a bit of a pursuing chase on the Naughtier caravans, if you will, as they're shooting them with blasters with the Naughty, either using slingshots and stones, and or throwing rocks at them, with Sabine commenting that do they have any weapons, and as we're telling them that they're peaceful people, and she just makes a joke about how, oh, so they're like defenseless then, as she ends up shooting the bandits, taking a few out, though to be fair, some of the Naughty do try to throw some bigger stones at them that either knocks out the bandits or drives them a bit back, or some of them try to work together, try and crash their 2 houses together to smash the bandits, but they avoid that until eventually one of their vehicles gets shot down, and they have to stop following. Though they also use like the sort of like metal casing on the top of the thing to protect them when the enemy gets too close. And Ezra realizes that one of them is down, gets the others to circle around as he cannot abandon them, and they sort of form a bit of a barrier. And during this bit, you have Ahsoka, where he tells the Naughty that he will handle the bandits while they're encircling with like Sabine. And during this time, you have Ahsoka's T6 shuttle being pursued by the remaining 3 starfighters from Elizabeth's Ritzy Armada, with Bailon Skull watching from a distance, probably realizing that seeing the Ritzy, his apprentice, pursuing like Ezra, but pardon me. With Ezra asking who she is, with Ren saying that she's like you, and but without your sense of humor, which Ezra asks if she has a lightsaber, and she says yes, and he thinks that's a bit of a problem, as he tells the Naughty to stay inside. I think Bailon does see Ahsoka's ship and realize that she's probably still alive as well during this, and Tano decides to land there to help, but Yang tries to say about Jedi protocol from preventing a landing while under attack, but she says she's going to do it anyway, as she's exiting the cockpit to try and join the skimmers below, much to Yang's protests, and tells him that they're going to try and do the stair jump again. And with him commenting that the last time they did this, it didn't work, and he had to apologize, but she says, like, you weren't really sorry. Little funny banter there. And she ends up jumping off as it slides down, as Yang makes it slide down, and as she successfully lands, though doing a bit of a rollover bit, she encounters Bailon Skull, who's surprised to see her again, as he didn't expect it, but she asks if he's disappointed, and he says no, but can't have her interfere with her plans, as he draws his lightsaber, and Tano says he doesn't have the time for this encounter, and draws her both her lightsabers this time. And after a bit of a sort of standoff a bit, they both Bailon charges at Ahsoka this time, and the duel begins. But as you get the bandits approaching Ahsoka and Sabine at this point, she tries to give Ezra his lightsaber, but tells us he doesn't need it as it's hers. And she tries to give him one of his blaster, but Ezra says he doesn't need that as well because he has the Force as his ally, much to Sabine's protests. As they start fighting with the bandits, Ezra using physical combat and the Force to push them, either holding onto their weapons and then Ritzy hitting them a bit, and then using the Force to push them away, while she uses her blasters to try and Ritzy, as she tries to fight them with as she tries to shoot them with the blasters first without using the lightsaber first, as Ahsoka and Bailon also continue their duel at this time, appearing to be evenly matched. And you see one of the Naughty also knocking out a bandit with a rock, so you're having them a little bit of a fighting, even if they're going in afterwards. Heck, I think the Naughty that Ezra was with hit with the Howler, so there's that. Eventually, Shin tries to attack Ezra with a lightsaber, grazing his hair a bit. Eventually, Sabine draws her lightsaber out after fighting, I believe, the bandit's leader. So, and just when it looks like she's taken out all the bandits, and Ritzy, Sabine, and Ezra outnumber Shin, Thrawn's Imperial gunship troopers arrive, with Sabine trying to tell Bridget to try and take down Shin quickly as he charges, but she uses the Force to push him back, and then Sabine engages her in a lightsaber duel, with Tano continuing hers, but Bailon Skull manages to gain the advantage again as Tano's knocked to the ground, and before saying he can strike her down, saying that you can't beat her, Ahsoka says that she doesn't have to, as Hyang flies like you see Hyang flying T6 shuttle, shooting the ground around them, which allows Tano to escape Skull, as he's leading the fighters away as Tano tries to escape. With Skull reflecting in silence, probably thinking like, damn, I missed trying to take her down, or complimenting his failure to take her down, but nevertheless pursues on his quest to his own quest for his own mission, while you get like Ritzy as we're getting up and Naughty getting concerned for him, but tells him to go back inside. They're eventually surrounded by the night troopers, with Ezra trying to say like as Ezra tries to I think he tries to say that we surrender or just want to talk or perhaps take us as prisoners, but Shin's having none of it, and then Ahsoka uses the Force to push the stormtroopers, and then arrives to help them the fight as she takes on Shin Hayate, and let's see, Sabine and Ezra take on the night troopers, as you have Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth watching via the holograms. But Thrawn noticed that Bailon Skull is missing during this. Actually, before Ahsoka arrives, with Sabine using a flamethrower to push back Shin. But as Ahsoka's arrived and helping with the fight, Hyang notices that they're all together, and hope that they can survive the current skirmish. Well, hoping they can survive the current skirmish as he drives off, as he hopes himself can survive as he drives away like the starfighters. And after taking down a few of the night troopers and Ahsoka dealing with Shin Hayate, and using the Force to Ezra using the Force to take one of the blasters. And Sabine also using a grenade of 3 night troopers during this bit of the battle. And as Thrawn realizes that praising that the combat skills of his Jedi opponents, talking about the wars of old with the Clone Wars, orders his troops to be recalled back to the gunship, much to Elizabeth's surprise, but Thrawn explains to her that while this is unfortunate, but the losses were acceptable due to the absence of, Bailon in the battle, with thinking that in the terms of the long term, the grand scheme of his plans, this fight with Tana would be a success, but she protests, saying that their enemies have reunited, but Thrawn reveals to her that he had this skirmish as a distraction so that he could transfer the rest of the Night Sisters' catacombs cargo aboard the Chimera, and soon they'll be able to leave this world. And once the cargo's completed, and tells that Ahsoka's lost her one advantage, which was time. It's now on their side, and they need to make sure, and he'll keep it that way as he leaves. As he leaves the room to prepare for the final preparations. Anyway, as the drones give the orders to retreat, the night troopers retreat. Though one of them gets shot by Sabine Wren. And as Shin realizes allies have retreated, Ahsoka tries to appeal to her, saying that if she can try and help her if she just surrenders, but she gives a bit of a tense, pained look before deciding to flee away on her howler. With Sabine trying to go after her, but Tano stops her from doing so. And then Tano and Sabine take a look, reuniting with Sabine being glad that she's safe, and saying that I thought she was dead. But she says, and miss this reunion, as she embraces Ezra when Ezra's shocked that Sabine thought that Tana was dead, and then Sabine tries to say that she was wrong, but Ahsoka makes a joke about missing the reunion, and try and miss this reunion, implying that she's not going to die just to miss this reunion. Sorry, I'm just going a bit on about this bit. But then you see the T6 shuttle with Yang arriving, and Bridger introduces Tano to the natives, and thinking that, okay, looks like he will be able to leave this galaxy after all, as he tells the Nazi leader and the people it's safe to come out, and that these are all his friends, and telling them that he'll be able to go home after all, as the friends sort of celebrate, and as the Nazis sort of celebrate as they see the ship coming down, sucking above them, ending episode on a bit of optimism for next week's finale for this season of Ahsoka. Okay, that summary lasted a bit longer than I intended, but my overall thoughts... I do like the sort. I will admit, I was a bit surprised that we'd see Hayden Christian as Anakin Skywalker again after the sort of Force Ghost stuff in the Beyond the World thing. But to be honest, but I think it was a welcome surprise. To be fair. Well, to be sure. And I do like seeing Hayden Christensen as much as possible. And it's interesting to see him, but this time, of course, as a hologram. And I think the sort of hologram thing here works and I do like how we get a bit of fan service, a bit of references to like General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, and Count Dooku. Granted, I'm pretty certain that a couple of casual Star Wars fans who have not seen the Clone Wars will probably go like, who's Asajj Ventress? Because if they haven't watched the Clone Wars, as she's only really appeared in the Clone Wars and Clone Wars movie, and you only learn of like her fate in the Dark Disciple novel, which was supposed to be 8 Clone Wars episodes adapted, but unfortunately, given when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, they cancelled the Clone Wars because it was on Warner Brothers at the time. Those episodes never became full thing, but they were taken in the novel. But I'm pretty certain most casual fans have not bought that novel, so they probably won't learn her fate unless they do a bit of extensive searching, but I know not. But who knows? But I am hoping that one day Dave Filoni will eventually adapt the Dark Disciple novel in some way. Maybe in like next sort of mini episodes of Tales of the Jedi, or I don't know, something. But hopefully we will get something eventually. Maybe even just like a animated Disney Plus movie, perhaps. But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see on that one. But I do like but pretty much everyone would probably know who Count Dooku and General Grievous is if they have watched pretty much the prequels at least once. So so I do like that bit of hologram and training with Anakin Skywalker. I do like how Ahsoka comments that Anakin was a good master to her despite what he eventually came. And I do like how interesting how Hyang never realized that Anakin gave at least 20 recordings to teach her, and the one that she saw was like the one he saw was the last one that Anakin gave to her. Which I do wonder if these holograms will be a way of us seeing more of Anakin Skywalker in future episodes. And maybe this will be when they'll be used as a way of having conversations with like Sabine, Ahsoka, maybe even Hera, that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader, the Sith Lord that tried to kill him a while back, but who knows. But at least we have one way of having Hayden Christensen show up. I do like how it's like in his like season 1 to 2 Clone Wars armor. So I thought that was pretty good. I really think they did a quite good job of nailing that design in live action. Despite that design probably being more suited for a toy action figure. But heck, they managed to make it work. So props to that. Now we'll see if they can try and do one with Obi-Wan Kenobi in that armor. But we have to wait and see. I mean, it'll always be good to see Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen as Obi-Wan and Anakin. But interesting enough, this is the first project Hayden Christensen has appeared without Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan, I believe, for Star Wars. Well, except maybe Rise of Skywalker. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's a nice bit like that. I do like how when the Purgle have like entered like the galaxy, you clearly see that. You clearly see that Thrawn has learned his mistakes with dealing with the Purgle from last time in the season finale of Rebels, where they completely much decimated his fleet. But he's shown that he's learned from the past mistakes with these mines and had like a way of like having them bomb them enough that they would try to flee on the scene and going on the hyperspace route, which prevented the cover firing for Ahsoka and Hyang when they drive the thing. But I did like the bit of the space chase that you got to see a bit, even if it was a bit short. But I do like how Ahsoka hides in the graveyard thing. It kind of reminds me of like Han with the asteroids and Empire Strikes Back. So I like that bit of the show. And I did like that little nod details of those little parasite things that seem to be eating the remains of the Hyang, of like the Purgle whales, sorry, that I saw about. I missed that detail first time around, but I watched the episode today and saw it, so I got a better idea of it. So I do like seeing that. But I do like with like the Hyang making some jokes about seeing the Iron Sign that they've come to the right galaxy despite his previous protests with Ahsoka, which you did see a bit of banter there back and forth with her making fun of the fact that you should have warned me, and he goes like I did, and he's realized you're just teasing me. So I did like that. But yeah, I do like how Thrawn is paying attention, is like strategizing, and when Ahsoka arrives and being informed by his captain about what's going on, and when he got like the Inquisitor's data pad and all that stuff, makes sense that the Inquisitors would have the info. I really do enjoy his like surprise reaction that Ahsoka was trained by none other than Anakin Skywalker, which it seems to be following like the continuity from like last episode. that he does not realize that Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan, despite the Thrawn novel mentioning Anakin mentioning her. So that's just one of those little continuity nods that diehard fans might get annoyed with, but casual fans probably won't realize. But it is what it is. But I do like how once he's learns that Ahsoka is alive after all, and the fact that the surprise reaction that of course that it's Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, because he knew Anakin Skywalker because he met him once during the Clone Wars, and that led to him to sort out Palpatine because Anakin praised Palpatine at the time, and later he worked together with Anakin when he was Darth Vader and even suspected his identity. So Thrawn knows firsthand just how powerful and dangerous opponent Anakin/Darth Vader was, and if he trained her, and he realizes that if he trained Ahsoka well, she could also just be as dangerous and unpredictable as he was. So he adjusts his strategy to not have the starfighters not waste their resources. I think, from my understanding, this is very in character of Thrawn, from like the strategist he is, about being careful with resources, not wasting them, and and even explaining his plans. So Elizabeth, who is at the moment being the sort of the one that questions Thrawn's orders, which, from my understanding, is a common thing that you see from Imperials, but then of course Thrawn proves to be right at the end, even if they don't understand his plans at first. So I think that works pretty well. And Thrawn is trying to make sure he stays one step ahead of Ahsoka, given her unpredictability, given her fact that she might be unpredictable as Anakin. And I do like that Ahsoka is able to correctly deduce that Thrawn is the one that planned the attack, and that her and Hyang deduce that the enemy has already found us, so they have not much time to try and find Sabine. So, yeah. But speaking of Sabine, let's see, I will admit I'm a bit disappointed that this episode has not revealed to Sabine, has not had Ezra learn that Sabine actually went with the enemy to find him and actually gave them the means of Ritzy taking Thrawn back out of this galaxy, because I want to see his reaction to that, because he's probably not going to be, he should not be happy with that. I mean, he's probably glad that Sabine has found her, but is arguably has possibly put the entire galaxy in danger, since he risked everything to get Thrawn away from the galaxy and his planet Lothal, and now that but now she's given the means to Thrawn to escape this galaxy and come back to this to cause another war, which could also possibly endanger his homeworld, which I wouldn't be surprised if Thrawn does try to retake the planet as a way of making up for his last defeat, if you will. So, but I do like how, he tries to assess everything that Sabine as he's missed, as he's sort of gone into sort of exile, a Captain American absence, if you will, learning the events of Return of the Jedi, of the Empire being defeated on Endor. Okay, technically in Yitzi and Ganon was Jakku when they fully surrendered, but pretty much Endor is pretty much where they were truly defeated, and that the Emperor supposedly died. Granted, there might sequel fans might at least Rise of Skywalker fans might like the nod that Sabine says, well, that's what people said about the Emperor dying, because we know that this is sort of a way of saying that as a sort of a reference to the fact that Palpatine did eventually survive the events, either by cloning Sith spirits and all that stuff. The movie sort of didn't really explain all that well, which caused a lot of outrage when the film came out. As many thought that Palpatine shouldn't come back, but it is what it is. And this is just Dave Filoni just doing some references and nods to those events, even though Sabine does not yet know that Palpatine is still alive, or he does come back from the dead. So so we have that currently. And also informing, and also that Ezra's a bit surprised that there's a New Republic, and and also that what happened to his friends, which I do like that he's very interested in learning that Seb is training recruits, which he probably seduces that. That's probably why he's not here with her. Now, granted, I am curious that if we are going to get Zeb appearing at least at the finale of Ahsoka, since he should probably be at this point informed that Hera, Sabine, and Ahsoka tried to find Ezra again, and I do want to see his reaction to that. At least talk to Hera a bit now that she's not being discharged. I assume he wants to at least talk to Hera about that whole situation. But yeah, and that Hera's commanding a fleet. Granted, it's not yet mentioned that Hera's had a son with Kanan, with Jason Syndulla, so I'm not sure if Sabine has told Ezra yet or is trying to keep that a surprise, but we don't know. But I am very curious to see how Ezra will because I really want to see how Ezra reacts to that news, or because if he's revealed that he's learned off screen, I'm going to be disappointed. But I am very curious. But at the very least, I am hoping that we will have some sort of reunion with Sabine. It's Ezra and the others as he says hello and gets to meet Jason for the first time. So we'll have to wait and see on that bit. But I do see. But of course, you still get Sabine trying to dismiss the whole thing, saying it's complicated. Not really a fan of it this episode, but there's hopefully they're saving it for finale now that Ahsoka's here and she can probably tell Ezra quite a few things. So yeah, and I do like how when Sabine tells Ezra that Ahsoka has been taking on this apprentice, he's first tries to laugh about it, being really, but of course realize it makes sense because like I mentioned earlier, the whole training with Rebels season 3, and I do like how Sabine's all right, go on, but Ezra's just fine with it. But that of course leads to more Ahsoka things. But speaking about which, I do like how the Thrawn asks the Great Mothers to try and find Ahsoka, and they use their Night Sisters magic. I do like how they're on sync and talking, and they use those spear things in which they use to trap Sabine, and just using that for everything, and using it to locate Ahsoka and debris while she's using the Force to find Sabine. Which I do like how Hyang says, "Are you sure your bond is strong enough?" But Ahsoka's quite confident, and you see Sabine doing it. And this is arguably the first hint of Sabine having some sort of Force abilities. That at the very least she's at least strong enough in the strong enough bond that she can connect to Ahsoka and the Force. Granted, I doubt we'll see her pushing yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if next episode she does. But at least we're getting more hints of it, and she's able to find, and because now Ahsoka's able to find her, and the mothers find them at the same time, and then that results in them having to fly to where Sabine is, and I do like how Thrawn is preparing everything and telling them get those 2 shuttles ready, though and confident that Bailon Skull will lead them to victory, possibly, or possibly not aware of his intentions, which gets me to Bailon Skull. I find it a bit weird that suddenly that Bailon tells his apprentice Shin Hayate to just go and pursue and part ways with her. I feel like we're missing a scene as, or at least some more scenes of Shin just being very determined to join Thrawn's empire. But I mean, I can see it working because I think Shin was thinking that the whole point of them doing this was to be a part of Thrawn's empire, but her master had other ideas, but and tried to tell her that, but but he realized that she's clearly determined to do more of the Thrawn stuff, and probably realizes this is where they need to part ways. But let's see, saying that she has her own path. He's not forcing her to go to his. So I do like that sort of like he seems to be a master. Let's at least the bond with him, the bond with her. He's at least willing to let her choose her own path, even if it's against what he wants to do. But is also even willing to try and give her one last bit of advice, trying to rush into saying that if you try to rush into victory, you will be defeated. So I do like that. Granted, I do wish we had more scenes with Bailon and her that would lead up to this, but I think it works enough, but it does feel a bit rushed as she and the bandits pursue. And I do like how you have Sabine's reaction to Len seeing them a bit later, informing Ezra that they're not friends when he asks. And I do like how the Naughty are able to discover them, and then we have a bit of a sort of Wild West kind of like chase with like the bandits on horses, and let's see, the Naughty with their house caravans are just driving. Let's see. So I did like that kind of like reference. So I thought that was pretty fun. So I'd even do like how you just have Sabine being the one that's shooting all the things, while I do like how the fact that the Naughty are just like they aren't really fighters, and they're just throwing slingshots and stones at them. With Ezra saying that they're peaceful people. With Sabine talking about so they're defenseless in translation, which I do like that the Naughty, given what we've seen of them, they seem to be a very primitive but also very peaceful species. So I think it makes sense they didn't fight, though. Granted, I'm a bit surprised that, and I think it makes sense as they're always on the move. But I think, I will admit, I do think I would think with a planet full of bandits and some Night Sisters, they would try to learn some sort of self-defense things. Though, granted, they clearly do, as they try and throw stones to try to overweigh their enemies, or even try and bash together. But yeah, but at the moment, I'd say like it makes sense that they would at least try and do that for a fight. So we'll try to do that at the very least, just to try and get the enemies away from them. Of course, eventually one of them gets shot down. I do like how Ezra says that you can't just abandon one of them, even if like they'll be surrounded by enemies. But he's pretty confident with Sabine that they can handle them. Though Sabine does try to give him the lightsaber, saying that he doesn't, but he insists that he doesn't need it and has the Force as his ally, which, to be fair, he's a Jedi, so that is true. Even if the Jedi are quite effective with lightsabers, they do have the Force as their ally. And it seems like and he has accepted that he gave that lightsaber to her, so that probably means down the line, if Ezra does escape this galaxy, he'll have to get a new lightsaber. I'm curious to see if he maybe possibly get Kanan's old lightsaber if it hasn't been destroyed by the factory explosion, or Ahsoka just gives her one of her spare ones, or there might have been a spare lightsaber in the T shuttle, but I have to wait and see, and we have to wait and see on that bit. As I do like how Ezra was able to use hand-to-hand combat, just grabbing onto the weapons and pushing them on the bandits, while Sabine naturally tries to use the blaster. But I do like how Ezra was able to dodge Shin's lightsaber attacks for the most part, except maybe a bit of a scrape of hair. I do like the little banter with like Ezra asking who Shin is to like Sabine, with him saying like she's like you, but without the sense of humor. So I did like that. And I do like how Ahsoka gets Yang to try and drop him off the shuttle, and he's like, not again. And there's a little banter about how they did it before, and she said, like, he had apologized last time, but Ahsoka making fun of that, you didn't really mean it last time, even though he's, like, protesting that this is not standard Jedi protocol and all that. But it looks like this time she successfully jumped. I think from what I've heard, some did not find the scene realistic, but I think this happens a lot in the animated show, so I think it's more of a reference to that. But anyway, it's interesting that we've got that a rematch with Ahsoka and Bailon Skull. I do like how he talks about how he did not expect her to be see her again, with her asking if he's disappointed, but he says like not really. And I think it's in his character because he thinks it's always a shame when more Jedi die, but realizes that Ahsoka is going to get in the way of his mission, so he prepares to fight her. And this time, Ahsoka gets both her lightsabers to clash. But this time, you have Bailon Skull doing the first move. And normally, he was the more last time because he was. Some think like it's a bit weird, but I think it makes sense. Like compared to the last time, he was the more patient and character in this, trying to avoid the conflict because he wanted to try and pursue his goals. But now that he's closer to those goals, he doesn't want anything to get in his way, and he will be the aggressor this time. Though Ahsoka doesn't have tries to. I do like how Ahsoka's trying to do both lightsabers this time and realizes that she can't waste any time with him, so tries to take it out quickly. Granted, I'm a little disappointed that the scene was cut short until you got a bit more of the clash with Sabine and Ezra against Shin Hati getting the bandits and later the night troopers. But eventually, of course, I do like how Ahsoka and Bailon seem to be a bit more evenly matched, even though Bailon does get the advantage towards the end. But Ahsoka realizes that she doesn't need to beat Bailon just yet and just escape when Huyang shoots him down. And I do like how Huyang talks about how all her friends have united and hopes that he can survive this. I think some have predicted this as like a sort of foreshadowing that he might. One of them might end up dying, possibly him or maybe Ezra. I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see. This might have just been a joke. We'll have to wait and see with Dave Filoni. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does kill at least one character, though. Let's see. No, granted, let's see, Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka characters he's fond of, so it might be Huyang, who's got the least screen time. Not to mention, you've got David Tennant returning as the Doctor for 3 specials, so who knows? So I'm not sure he wants to be a long-term main character in the show, but in the future seasons, but we'll have to wait and see on that part. But yeah. But anyway, as the night troopers arrive and provide backup for Shin, just about all the bandits have been taken down. I do like after a while, Sabine, after using the blasters, takes out the lightsaber to take out the bandits' leader, looking like they have the advantage now. I even like how some of the Nazi try to assist by throwing stones, and then Ezra just telling them to get back inside whenever they get concerned about him. But I do like when the sort of night troopers arrive. Let's see, Ezra tries to say, can we negotiate or surrender? But Shin's having none of it. So, yeah. But granted, I will admit, I think the forced push that Ahsoka did was perhaps a bit weak. I mean, it knocked down 3, but you still had a lot of the other ones around there. And granted, I feel like you should have knocked them all down, and it's because they could have just immediately fired just as she did that push on the 3. But we're going by, I guess, Star Wars logic, where a Jedi does something, people get distracted, and then everyone starts fighting afterwards. But it is what it is. But I do like that Ahsoka's able to easily beat Shin Hati, which she should, because Ahsoka should be pretty much a Jedi Knight or Jedi Master's level of ranking at this point, even though she's technically still the rank of a former rank of a Padawan. And Shin Hati is an apprentice, not a proper knight or master level like her master. And I do like how let's see, you have Sabine just shooting or slicing the stormtroopers, night troopers. So it's interesting they don't disappear like Marok did in episode 4. So this leads to some wondering that maybe all these stormtroopers aren't resurrected. Zombies like they suspected, or at least some of them are actually alive. But who knows? I'm not sure what the difference with the night troopers are at the very least. But and from what I can tell, the Wikipedia does not imply that they have any Night Sisters powers, but at the very least, they might just be broken armored stormtroopers with just like new things. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got on some enchantments. At least some of them do. But it seems that some of them are still alive. But at the very least, they are dying like stormtroopers yet. So we haven't really seen the full-on threat. But granted, they're currently facing our heroes right now, though they're not all dying at the very least. And I do like how Ezra uses the Force to take a blaster from them and shoot them. And Thrawn, realizing that Bailon has abandoned them, decides that best to withdraw and considers the loss as acceptable, and has like them as they fall out. And much to like Morgan and Elizabeth's surprise and protest, saying that the enemies are now reunited as a result of this. But Thrawn says that. But Thrawn revealing that he planned that regardless if they win or lost this battle, he plans for them to be distracted from this and allowing enough time to get the Great Mothers all the catacomb stuff inside the ship, and they have enough time to soon leave and Ahsoka before Ahsoka and the others can pursue. So he has the advantage and is going to keep it this way. So I do like how, even if Thrawn planned, regardless if he won or lost of taking out the Jedi, I do like how he seems to get nostalgia about the Jar of Old battle when Ahsoka arrives. I do like how he planned, regardless if his side won or lost in that battle, long term, it was planned that he would have enough time to take all what they need aboard the Chimera and then escape, having the bit of the long-term victories in the long haul, sort of seeing this bit, though, pursuit of the Jedi as just a small battle that is rather minor and as a result doesn't need to waste too many resources on it. So I thought that worked quite well. It was interesting how once the Night Troopers escaped on those latte shuttles, and I do like how we've got those Rebel shuttles in live action for the first time, because they've only been seen in Rebels. I don't think they've been shown in anything else, because they weren't made during the time the original trilogy was being made. I'm not sure if any of the Disney EU stories have shown them or not, but I have to probably relook at some of those comics. I think I might have saw them in some of those tie-ins to Force Awakens, which I think might have been Poe Dameron's parents, but I think that was retconned. Him being a son of a smuggler now, I'm not sure, but I don't know, I have to look at Poe Dameron's history again. But I do like how Ahsoka tries to, as Shin is panicking a bit, Ahsoka tries to offer a chance to come with her and help try and redeem her, but she reluctantly, and just when you think that she might for a second, she ends up leaving and on her Howland riding off. So at the moment, at the very least, she doesn't look like she's being redeemed, at least just yet, or at least not going to, which I think for some fans will be a bit relief, because I think they don't want to see every dark side apprentice or inquisitor being redeemed or renouncing the dark side, if you will. So she seems to be staking on the path. Now, granted, we have no idea where she's going. She might be trying to pursue the shuttle and try and catch up to Thrawn just before he leaves, or return to her master and reunite for whatever his plans are, as she's failed to stop the Ezra and Sabine. But we'll have to wait and see. I think Thrawn would accept her help for a cause, as she can be a very useful asset. I don't think he would dismiss her as failures like Vader might do with the Imperials and even Inquisitors that fail him, because her Thrawn is a bit different from Vader on that end. But yeah. But anyway, we finally get the reunion between Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra. Granted, I'm a little disappointed that Ahsoka isn't scolding Sabine for her actions, but I think since she's having this reunion with Ezra first, they're going to do the celebrating and the hugging first. But I do like how Sabine is like happy to see that Ahsoka is alive, as she thought it was dead. But now that let's see, she said that out loud and Ezra heard. I really need Ahsoka to, at the very least, or Sabine, to explain to Ezra what happened and how she got here. As Sabine's sort of selfless actions did lead the enemy to retrieve Thrawn, and they're about to leave the galaxy, so we have to wait and see on that. But I do like how at the moment Ezra being optimistic that they can leave the galaxy with the T6 shuttle. Granted, the shuttle can't really do the hyperspace by itself, and with the Purrgil jumping out of hyperspace, the only really route is to try and catch up onto Thrawn's shuttle. I mean, Thrawn's ship and the Eye of Sion before it departs. Well, granted, that might prove difficult if they end up shooting them down. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ezra and Ahsoka's group ends up being stranded here and have to wait until like next season to get back to the galaxy as Thrawn starts his campaign against the galaxy. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think it really also depends on the stuff with Bailon's skull as well, what he's searching for. But I do like how Ezra gets the Notte to learn that these are all the friends they celebrate, and you have that a little small victory here as they're celebrating. But of course, the upcoming conflict is yet to be resolved and will be next episode. I assume we'll mostly be focusing on what Bailon's skull is trying to find. We'll find out whether or not it's something like a Boloth or something else entirely. But we'll have to wait and see and how Thrawn will react to what Bailon's skull is doing. But at the moment, he's trying to escape. And what the New Republic is doing. But yeah. Overall, this episode is definitely weaker than last week's episode. But it's still a pretty good episode. But it does need a little bit more content and details to clarify some things. But if I had to give it an overall score, I'd give it, say, like a 8 out of 10. I think it's a pretty decent episode. And I think it set up, so at least leads a bit of optimism for the finale, but we'll have to wait and see what the finale does, as there's a lot, as I'm pretty certain that Thrawn, this will be the first Star Wars season to not wrap up all its storylines in one thing, and not as I think at the very least it'll just wrap up the Bailon Skull storyline. We'll have to see what happens. Before we know, the character might have ended up surviving the season and planning for season 2, but as a result, they might have to recast that. But yeah, mostly most of the seasons and previous Star Wars shows just wrap up because they have a limited series, or they'll just like a story arc for the season, like with The Mandalorian, and you just had like one sort of like post-credit thing, like with Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. But overall, this season is pretty concluding the first phase of the next part of the Mandoverse, as they're preparing as it leads eventually to Dave Filoni's movie. I think it's doing a good job so far, and hopefully the next episode will deliver a strong finale to the season 1 of Ahsoka. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber signing off. Thank you for listening to the stream if you do, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Apologies if the summary went too long, but let's see. This is goodbye now. May the Force be with you.